Originali.
Edward Morgan Forster è l'autore di Camera con Vista, il romanzo che stiamo leggendo in lingua inglese in compagnia di Marco Piovaz. L'opera, l'abbiamo già accennato, oggi lo diciamo in maniera esplicita, chiara, narra la storia di una giovane donna nella cultura sessualmente repressa dell'Inghilterra dell'età edoardiana. Perché dico che oggi accenniamo a questo in maniera esplicita? Nelle scorse settimane abbiamo dato voce alla passione di Lucy Honeychurch dicendo che nella pensione fiorentina dove è scesa la sua passionalità si rivela quando si siede al pianoforte e suona Beethoven. C'è anche un bacio scandaloso per i tempi. Un pomeriggio la ragazza è a passeggio da sola a Firenze e è testimone di un omicidio. Quel George che insieme al padre le ha messo a disposizione la stanza con la vista sull'Arno, è lì vicino. La ragazza sviene, lui accorre e la prende fra le braccia. Ritornando alla pensione camminano sul lung'Arno e hanno una conversazione stranamente intima. Ebbene, pochi giorni dopo entrambi partecipano a una gita in carrozza che insieme a un gruppo di persone più ampio li porta a fare un picnic sulle colline di Fiesole. Ebbene, mentre il gruppo si sparpaglia per esplorare il paesaggio, Lucy si ritrova a camminare con George da sola e George la bacia, ma i due sono interrotti improvvisamente da Charlotte. Titolo originale: A Room with a View, Camera con Vista, e ne leggiamo e ne ascoltiamo un altro estratto in compagnia di Marco Piovaz.
It was pleasant to wake up in Florence, to open the eyes upon a bright bare room with a floor of red tiles which look clean though they are not, with a painted ceiling whereon pink griffins and blue amorini sport in a forest of yellow violins and bassoons. It was pleasant, too, to fling wide the windows, pinching the fingers in unfamiliar fastenings, to lean out into sunshine with beautiful hills and trees and marble churches opposite, and close below the Arno gurgling against the embankment of the road. Over the river, men were at work with spades and sieves on the sandy foreshore, and on the river was a boat, also diligently employed for some mysterious end. An electric tram came rushing underneath the window. No one was inside it except one tourist, but its platforms were overflowing with Italians who preferred to stand. Children tried to hang on behind, and the conductor, with no malice, spat in their faces to make them let go. Then soldiers appeared, good-looking, undersized men, wearing each a knapsack covered with mangy fur, and a greatcoat which had been cut for some larger soldier. Beside them walked officers, looking foolish and fierce, and before them went little boys, turning somersaults in time with the band. The tram car became entangled in their ranks and moved on painfully, like a caterpillar in a swarm of ants. One of the little boys fell down, and some white bullocks came out of an archway. Indeed, if it had not been for the good advice of an old man who was selling button hooks, the road might never have got clear. Over such trivialities as these, many a valuable hour may slip away, and the traveller who has gone to Italy to study the tactile values of Giotto or the corruption of the papacy may return remembering nothing but the blue sky and the men and women who live under it. So it was as well that Miss Bartlett should tap and come in, and having commented on Lucy's leaving the door unlocked and on her leaning out of the window before she was fully dressed, should urge her to hasten herself, or the best of the day would be gone. By the time Lucy was ready, her cousin had done her breakfast and was listening to the clever lady among the crumbs. A conversation then ensued on not unfamiliar lines. Miss Bartlett was, after all, a wee bit tired, and thought they had better spend the morning settling in, unless Lucy would at all like to go out. Lucy would rather like to go out, as it was her first day in Florence, but of course she could go alone. Miss Bartlett could not allow this. Of course she would accompany Lucy everywhere. Oh, certainly not. Lucy would stop with her cousin. Oh, no, that would never do. Oh, yes. At this point, the clever lady broke in. If it is Miss Grundy who is troubling you, I do assure you that you can neglect the good person. Being English, Miss Honeychurch will be perfectly safe. Italians understand. A dear friend of mine, Contessa Baroncelli, has 2 daughters, and when she cannot send a maid to school with them, she lets them go in sailor hats instead. Everyone takes them for English, you see, especially if their hair is strained tightly behind. Miss Bartlett was unconvinced by the safety of Contessa Baroncelli's daughters. She was determined to take Lucy herself, her hair not being so very bad. The clever lady then said that she was going to spend a long morning in Santa Croce, and if Lucy would come too, she would be delighted. I will take you by a dear dirty back way, Miss Honeychurch, and if you bring me luck, we shall have an adventure. Lucy said that this was most kind, and at once opened her Baedeker to see where Santa Croce was. Tut, tut, Miss Lucy, I hope we shall soon emancipate you from Baedeker. He does but touch the surface of things, and as to the true Italy, he does not even dream of it. The true Italy is only to be found by patient observation. This sounded very interesting, and Lucy hurried over her breakfast and started with a new friend in high spirits. Italy was coming at last. The Cockney Signora and her works had vanished like a bad dream. Miss Lavish, for that was the clever lady's name, turned to the right along the sunny Lungano. How delightfully warm. What a wind down the side streets that cut like a knife, didn't it? Ponte delle Grazie, particularly interesting, mentioned by Dante. San Miniato, beautiful as well as interesting. The crucifix that kissed a murderer, Miss Honeychurch would remember the story. The men on the river were fishing. Untrue, but then so is most information. Then Miss Lavish darted under the archway of the white bullocks, and she stopped and cried, "A smell, a true Florentine smell. Every city, let me teach you, has its own smell." "Is it a very nice smell?" said Lucy, who had inherited from her mother a distaste to dirt. "One doesn't come to Italy for niceness," was the retort. "One comes from life. Buongiorno, buongiorno," bowing right and left. "Look at that adorable wine cart. How the driver stares at us, dear simple soul." So Miss Lavish proceeded through the streets of the city of Florence, short, fidgety, and playful as a kitten, though without a kitten's grace. It was a treat for the girl to be with anyone so clever and so cheerful, and a blue military cloak, such as an Italian officer wears, only increased the sense of festivity. "Buongiorno. Take the word of an old woman, Miss Lucy. You will never repent of a little civility to your inferiors. That is the true democracy. Though I am a real radical as well. There, Now you're shocked." "Indeed I'm not," exclaimed Lucy. "We are radicals, too, out and out. My father always voted for Mr. Gladstone until he was so dreadful about Ireland." I see. And now you have gone over to the enemy. Oh, please, if my father was alive, I am sure he would vote radical again now that Ireland is all right. And as it is, the glass over our front door was broken last election, and Freddie is sure it was the Tories. But Mother says nonsense, a tramp. Shameful. A manufacturing district, I suppose? No, in the Surrey Hills, about 5 miles from Dorking, looking over the Weald. Miss Lavish seemed interested and slackened her trot. What a delightful part. I know it so well. It is full of the very nicest people. Do you know Sir Harry Otway, a radical if ever there was? Very well indeed. And old Miss Butterworth, the philanthropist. Why, she rents a field of us. How funny. Miss Lavish looked at the narrow ribbon of sky and murmured, "Oh, you have property in Surrey." "Hardly any," said Lucy, fearful of being thought a snob. "Only 30 acres, just the garden, all downhill and some fields." Miss Lavish was not disgusted and said it was just the size of her aunt's Suffolk estate. Italy receded. They tried to remember the last name of Lady Louisa someone who had taken a house near Summer Street the other year, but she had not liked it, which was odd of her. And just as Miss Lavish had got the name, she broke off and exclaimed, bless us and save us, we've lost the way." Certainly they had seemed a long time in reaching Santa Croce, the tower of which had been plainly visible from the landing window. But Miss Lavish had said so much about knowing her Florence by heart that Lucy had followed her with no misgivings. Lost, my dear Miss Lucy. During our political diatribes we have taken a wrong turning. How those horrid Conservatives would jeer at us. What are we to do? 2 lone females in an unknown town. Now, this is what I call an adventure. Lucy, who wanted to see Santa Croce, suggested as a possible solution that they should ask the way there. "Oh, but that is the word of a craven. And no, you are not to look at your Baedeker. Give it to me. I shan't let you carry it. We will simply drift."
A Lingue Originali, Marco Piovaz ha letto per voi in lingua inglese. Lo ritroveremo su Caffè Italia la prossima settimana, venerdì, sempre alle ore 22. Ma Lingue Originali è in onda anche il sabato con Nadia Meroni, con la lettura in lingua tedesca, e la domenica con Barbara Marchand, per quella in lingua francese. Vi ringraziamo per l'ascolto e vi diamo appuntamento a Lingue Originali fra 7 giorni, sempre su Caffè Italia, la radio e il podcast dall'aroma italiano, e non solo.
Lingue Originali.